We're going to keep it in California, but this time we are going to La Mesa, California. Josh, the stage is yours. Step on up and please grace this microphone.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So honored to follow up my homegirl, Judah. With no further ado, this is entitled Backstage Pass. Back on a warm June Saturday afternoon, long after the cartoons and the black and white reruns of those three buffoons were through, I walked into Granny's musty living room of a vanilla wafer hue and a Van Ness Avenue view from the north side of the house. I stepped over the rusty furnace in the floor and around the dusty plastic on the couch when Granny yelled out, "Boy?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, don't slouch, I know." And then she said, "Boy, you better watch your mouth," though couldn't help it when a piece of a smile came out. You see, we knew each other so well I could finish her sentence. She, the only fam this man had when I finished my sentence. I never aspired to a power higher, so the elders didn't require repentance. I only went with her back in the day so I could holler at the geeks at convention back when y'all called it a district till I was maybe like 16. I was like, yo, district. And that was that. I was out. It was a wrap. I mean, come on, y'all grew up in the trap. So God would just add to a long laundry list of stuff I knew I could do without. But that was then, and this is now. And This Is Us was on the TV when I looked down at the coffee table. And atop the mahogany brown, astride the essence and ebonies and the glossy means of celebrities was a Watchtower magazine. Now, I was familiar with Black magazines. As my once semi-decent life descended gradually into countless miscues, till those Black mags were how I handled my issues. Till this one cat's mom's was handed tissues. He went to a box and I went to a cage. Luke was his name. Though I was the one with all the rage, dazed and underage with no way out like a runner mazed. But now as I picked up that tower and turned the page, the fearful haze in my past seemed to allay. You know, we ain't gonna make those no more, Granny say. What you mean? I mean, we're not printing them on paper no more, and no more door-to-door on the net now. Wow, was I actually holding the last watchtower? I looked down again and saw a picture of a future scene, one of a sea of peoples at peace and serene and on the same team, a scene I remember seeing back in my teens when I was rapping and flowing, but not knowing what life meant. This pic, though, pulled me in closer. The cyan, magenta, yellow, and key was like a key unlocking my mind's eye from a dream to reality when I could visualize. Then I swore I heard a voice roar. Yes, Lord? Nah, it wasn't God, but my inner guide saying, Jay, drop that pair of dice and join this paradise where you can live, not just survive, where there will be no fear, no more scary spice, where you can purge your shoulder of that boulder, Colorado. No more doing magic on the mountain full throttle. No more trapping and hustling. No more lotto. No more getting mixed up in that stupid stuff. No mulatto. No more fisticuffs. You'll be a system model. No more mean streets or mean geeks, only models and fine wine filter. No more Mad Dog bottles. If I bought in, this was the proof of purchase, the receipt, the recipe. I was being shown something the whole world hadn't yet peeped. It beckoned me to last till man faced my reckoning. This mag was my backstage pass, man. I imagine being escorted behind the drawn curtain and rig and meeting the band after finishing their greatest gig. And after all the hollering had died and the victory song was sung, and meeting the front man and Christ his son as he hands me a pair of Argraff zildjian cymbals to crash and one stick to beat the drum of a clarion call that it's done and his team had won. And the pages I was holding wasn't a scolding, they were scalding. The tips of my fingers were burning, they were yearning. Quickly, I kissed Granny on the cheek goodnight and headed out into the light with newfound insight and a new ending to my book, Insight, wanting to make all the wrongs within right, ready to fight like Dana White, to fight for life like Isaac Wright. I was gonna take pens and paper and write and recite all my sins. Man, I was beyond hype. I even pulled out my iPhone and started to type. It was at the same time I got an incoming from my baby mama, Sarai. In my contacts, I had her down as Wicked Witch of the West, which made it all the better, no best to ignore her behest and hit decline, 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 decline 5 times. I was finally inclined to answer and immediately entered her voice like the dragon, y'all, shrill and high, with no hi, but only why. Why, she asked, was she still waiting on a support check? I said, well, it's kind of hard to send a check or get an Uber Select over there to check on my little Princess Colette when I ain't got a job yet. Your boy had just barely stopped calling them collect. Then another incoming when I had to accept, this time from my PO, a hard-nosed Navy vet. He said, be sure to make your check in tomorrow. I said, bet, say less, I'll be there. Then he said my request to visit my auntie Celeste up in Canyon Crest was declined because she lived on the wrong side of the county line. All right, fine, I digress. I started to feel pressed. I could feel the stress creeping to crest up in my chest. I glanced ahead down the street and approaching to test for my boys, Sam and Wes. no goods from the old hood I had the misfortune of calling friends. Just then, I looked back at my past. I began to entertain thoughts of casting it off into the nearby Rubbermaid receptacle, lest I become a victim of these gestures, a less than respectable spectacle. At that moment, I wished I could be like Zeke and make this role ingestible. That's right, actually eat the periodical and make my newfound interest anti-perceptible, my antiperspirant now failing, my mind flailing and sailing against shipwrecking winds and thoughts of bailing. I started tailing when I turned my head and saw my other boy Ted also tailing. The approach from all sides pinned me to the sidewalk railing. Man, so I threw it. It landed face down in the can next to an old coffee and so softly before any of these guys even knew it. We pounded fists, our normal exchange. What up, fam? Sam say, but I didn't answer due to the shame. Hey, what we getting into? Asked Ted. I don't know, I said, but I'm down for whatever. So the four of us walked down Hyde Park Boulevard together. And it was at that very moment I thought, would the Lord ever reach out again? Maybe never. I turned my head to look back as we faded into the black. There it was, my very own Backstage Pass, lying on the lining of the can on top of the trash.
I can't really.
Wait a minute, what just happened?
Uncle
Fire.
Loved it, loved it.
That was
Crazy.
That was amazing.
That was
That
amazing.
was amazing.
Oh,
That was amazing.
no.
Bro. So good.
That was
Okay, like that sounded like that was like the pilot for like the whole show that's coming out. And like I saw like Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, like playing the main character. And like that was like the pilot. Like I feel like I was watching that on like channel 7. And I'm gonna tune in next week for the next episode. That was dope. That was dope. That was a whole story. Like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air meets ATL story. That was dope. We appreciate that very, very much. We're glad you got that backstage pass, sir. That was dope.